Don't forget to check out and grab your copy of our 2 newly released books, Football: A Love Story and What Did Football Teach Me? These books feature over 100 stories from current and former coaches, players, executives, and entertainers from across the football landscape, describing what got them involved in the game, what they love about it, and what life lessons the game taught them. You can find your copy or order your copy from our website at footballgameplan.com/books. Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, here with Coach Joe Susan at Bucknell University. Coach, thanks for taking time with us today.
It's good to have you here, Emory.
Great camp that you guys got out here. And Coach, it's springtime and you're going into your 7th season, and you slowly built Bucknell into a contender in the Patriot League. How has that process been, and how you were able to accomplish that goal?
I think the most important thing is I was in a position where when I was hired here, they gave me the opportunity to hire my own staff. I've been fortunate to have some of those guys that have stayed with us since we got here. Our defensive coordinator, our offensive coordinator have been here through the entire 6th season, going into our 7th season. The other thing that we needed to do was really focus the type of young man that we want in our program from a character standpoint, then from a talent standpoint, and obviously overriding both of those factors are the academics necessary to be potentially admitted to Bucknell University. And we're fortunate that we've had a great working relationship with our admissions, and a lot of that stems from when we bring them here, they succeed. And we're fortunate that the young men in our program understand their priorities. They know that they can have 2 priorities, their academics and their football. But when you start partitioning that into 3 priorities, then you kind of spread yourself thin. Our goal when we got here was to create a mindset of toughness. I believe that we've achieved that in terms of how we play the game. If you ask any of the players on our team what type of offense we run, what type of defense we run, or special teams, they're pretty simple in their answer. They say downhill. And we have been fortunate to be blessed with some very good defensive players, and I believe that's where you start in terms of what you do as a program. You have to start on defense because you can't punt. I think the toughness aspect comes into play when you look at how we do things, and it starts in our weight room, and it goes back to our weight room. We have a strength coach who's a Marine, and if I want to get him upset with me, I call him an ex-Marine. And that's how he approaches it. All of our movements in the weight room are football specific, and it really translates onto the field. We're a pro-style offense. We go at it. We're not an East and West team, and I think that plays into the toughness of our defense. We're a downhill defense. We play a 4-2-5. And the young men in our program that we're able to recruit have really bought into that concept of we're gonna out hit you, all right, and ultimately we'll put ourselves in a position to win the game in the 4th quarter. And knowing what you know about this league and what I know about this league, most of the games are 4th quarter games.
Now, it's funny you bring it up, because one thing I've noticed about your teams, Coach, is that they're very tough in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Now, you're a very good offensive lineman in college, played at Delaware. Did that experience, along with your experience as an offensive line coach over the course of your coaching career, help you formulate that philosophy?
I think it goes back further than that, Emory. As a 7th grader, I played 7th and 8th grade basketball, and the coach of that team was a defensive coordinator for our high school team. And I knew some of the drills he was putting us through weren't necessarily basketball drills. We were doing up downs, we were doing seat rolls, but I knew what he had in mind, and it translated into the high school team I played for, South River High School, which when I was a 7th grader, there was a quarterback on that team named Joe Thiesman, who changed his name at Notre Dame to Theismann to rhyme with that trophy that he didn't win, but he was thrown to a receiver named Pearson. And the high school defensive line coach that I played for is a guy named Bill Shatteri, who was a captain at the University of Delaware. And some of the things we did in high school really played into how we played the game at Delaware. And that was our mindset. And it's something that I carried over in terms of my younger experience in this profession. And when you get a chance to put your brand on a program, you want it to have something that they fall back to when it comes time to define the program. And when I got here, I knew that we had a chance to be a good defensive team. But I also understand that how you play on offense impacts how you play on defense. And we go after people. We're a power team, inside zone, a man scheme with lead draw, outside zone. And our defense attacks the ball. We're a 4-2-5. Our linebackers are downhill players. Fortunately, both of them were first-team All-League players as sophomores this year, and they'll get better. We also have 2 of the better defensive tackles in the league that I find it's hard to double-team 2 of them. And, there's always a one-on-one there. And it goes with how we approach the game in terms of the team concept being the most important thing, and that's hard to do nowadays when the ego gets in the way of everything. Being our mantra here is being selfless, being accountable, and being mentally tough. And I think the mentally tough concept overrides the other 2. And if we can create that and continue to recruit the young men that buy into that, I know we'll continue to be a very good football team on defense, and we just got to do a great job scoring points, because you got to score one more than the guys that you're playing against.
Now, Coach, this isn't your first stop at Bucknell. You were assistant coach here for 10 years. You went on to have success elsewhere for 20 years. I don't want to date you. You look like a young man. Let's say 35. Let's give you 35.
You got it.
You came back to Bucknell. What was it that brought you back, and why was this the best opportunity or most ideal situation for you?
It's unique because I was actually recruited here and made a decision to go someplace else. But when I visited here as a recruit, I was really impressed with the facilities, the campus, and their approach to athletics. I started my career here. I came right out of graduate school to be an offensive line coach as a college football coach, and spent 10 years here. Actually, I had my wife had all 3 of our children here. I was just a bystander. But the progression of your career takes certain stops, and I've been fortunate in many ways to be at specific places for longer periods of time, and really good places. And was a head coach once at Davidson College. When this opportunity came up, my evaluation was that there's only a certain amount of times that in your life that you have a chance to become a head coach and put a mark on a program. And I knew that the league, the Patriot League itself, was tending towards adopting full merit aid, full scholarships. And I felt with that we could be very successful here if we did it the right way. So it was, coming from Rutgers University to Bucknell, coming from the FBS to the FCS, but knowing how to recruit scholarship players, I think that that was a plus in coming into a program that needed some help. And usually the jobs aren't open because the program's a championship program. Mm-hmm. Obviously taking a risk, but the opportunity to become a head coach again was what drove me. And I can say without reservation, I trust the president, John Brodman, and I trust the athletic director, John Hart. And if you as a football coach can say those 2 things, I think you have it pretty special.
Now, Coach, you see a lot of guys come into coaching, coach a year or two, then leave and go into another field. What has kept you involved in coaching, and what do you really love about the game?
It's funny because early in my career, the concept of potentially being fired somewhere in your career comes up because it happens, and it actually happened to me at one time. And I always felt that because of my background, I have a degree in exercise physiology, I could always do something other than coach. And 39 years in, I'm not sure what that something would be. The positives of this is that it's ever changing. The recruiting, I actually love recruiting. But one of the things that people don't understand, because early in my career, people would ask me what I did during the off season. And as we go through a sequence of a year, there's so many different aspects to that as you prepare to put a team on the field. And right now we're in spring recruiting. I'll be on the road for the next 3 weeks. I love going on the road. I've been fortunate to develop a relationship with a lot of high school coaches, not just in my home state, but around our recruiting footprint. Then the other thing that the 17 to 23, actually I'll extend it, the 16 to 23 year old is in a unique part of his life where he might look like a man, might speak like a man, but in many ways he's not a man. And I didn't realize that because I thought I was a man at 17, or the man. And to see them go through the changes they make, and as this group that we had that were seniors this year get ready to graduate and move on to what's next in their lives. And it's funny how so many of them will resist you early. Mm-hmm. And then as they mature, they say, you were right. And I'm like, yeah. But that's what's rewarding, to see a young man grow up through his process of transitioning from who he is at home in high school, where everything's done in a march, to come here and have him move a little bit more to being a successful independent. But also, our goal is to put leaders into the world. The world needs leaders. We're going to have to hand it off at some time. Mm-hmm. And those guys, are they productive as employers or employees, then potentially as employers? But are they the right type of husband if they choose that, the right type of father if they choose that? And to have an impact on that, and to have young men who are 54, 55 years old call me up and said, "Remember what you said to me?" I said, "Yeah." That came true here in this business environment, and that's what makes this so rewarding, that I'm not really sure what I'm going to do when I grow up, but one of the things I will make sure is I never grow old and never grow up, and that's part of what is the strength of this profession.
Now, out of all the lessons you could possibly learn in the game of football, and it teaches you a lot, what would you say football taught you?
Many things, but I think the most important thing is to face adversity and figure your way out of adversity. As a junior in high school, I came out of my junior year with a number of FBS offers. I was a 6'5", 255-pound defensive end, and I could run a little bit. And I was a year young. They didn't redshirt you back then. Mm-hmm. So going into my senior year as a 16-year-old, because of the way my family structure was, this was the first where we would send somebody to college for 4 years. And obviously, being the oldest son, the first in our family to be recruited. Right before half of the third game my senior year, I dislocated my knee and had 3 nasty 3-letter words: ACL, MCL, PCL. and wound up in the hospital for over a month. Went from 255 to 195. In the schools that were recruiting me, I would get a phone call weekly, and they all, to a man, said, well, we'll call you back. And that didn't happen. I was fortunate enough to be a good enough student to look at schools in the leagues that I looked at, the Ivy League, the Patriot League, and the CAA. I actually looked at one of the military academies and wound up choosing, for the right reasons, to go to the University of Delaware. Adversity teaches you so much about yourself, but it also teaches you a lot about the support system that you have. And there's no better support system than a football team that is a diverse environment in terms of age diversity, where when I went to Delaware, there were guys on my team that were married with children, men. My sophomore year, I was behind 2 All-Americans. But those were guys that took me under their wing and taught me how to do things the right way. And as I matured, I hope that my effort to pay them forward helped the younger guys that played when I played. And that is something that I think football teaches you so much more about life and its hardships and its adversity, and being able to overcome those without panicking. On a football field, the ball's in play on any given play between 6 and 7 seconds. So that's about 15 minutes on offense, 15 minutes on defense, and about 7 minutes in special teams for a 60-minute game. You better be right. And if you're not right, you're not going to get it back. And some people, humans have a tendency to live in the past and live in the future, and they forget about what they can impact, and that's right now. And I believe that football teaches you that in terms of being a part of a team and understanding your role on that team. My mom was convinced that I should have the football. And usually they don't give the football to guys wearing number 72. She didn't understand why I never got my picture in the paper. And the more you learn about this sport, people that know the game know what offensive and defensive linemen are doing. And usually if they talk about you, they're not talking about what is an offensive lineman. They're not talking about what you're doing right. They're talking about what you're doing wrong. But the challenge to who and what you are is something that we try to confront our players with. And we're dealing with a different environment in terms of their upbringing, where some of them went through Little League, football, baseball, basketball, and everybody got the trophy. All right? And I tell my team this all the time, there's no such thing as second place. Nobody remembers who came in second. And that strive towards being the best you can in everything that you do will pay dividends even if you're not the champion. It'll pay dividends in terms of your work ethic, in terms of your ability to handle adversity, which is going to hit you. It's coming. If it's not here, it's coming as you move through your life. And you might lose a job. You might lose a loved one. Somebody might be sick and you have to take care of them. This experience will help you tenfold. And understanding that you've got to put yourself out there, I think that's critical in terms of this sport. You know, obviously it's 11 on 11, but within that 11 on 11, there's a lot of one-on-ones. You better be in a position where you're consistently winning your one-on-ones. And one of the things that I didn't understand when I was in college was the way we were graded as offensive linemen. The guy next to me the guy in front of me was playing pretty hard too, and but that was the goal of excellence that I was taught in college, taught in high school, and I try to get through to the young men on our team.
If I'm a high school senior or a junior or even a sophomore, what would I get from the Bucknell experience? Why would I choose Bucknell?
One of the most important things here is that Bucknell is a undergraduate institution, and that here you'll achieve one of the better undergraduate educations in the country. You will graduate. Our student athlete graduation rate is second to Stanford in the country. 99% of our student athletes graduate. The other thing is that a lot of young men, women at 17 have no idea what they want to study. Bucknell has the technical degrees, but it's still founded on a backbone of liberal arts, and it's more an education for life than it is an education through books. The other thing Bucknell has is 27 varsity sports, so at any given time in a student population of 3,400, there's about 750 student athletes that are going through what you go through. Now, nobody ever goes through what a football player goes through, all right?
Right.
We self-admit that. The other thing that I tell them as I recruit them is that we will take care of you as a person. And I think that resounds through our program. And as young men get to know us, they understand that our coaches are there as role models, as mentors. Students of that age, they have enough friends. They don't need any more friends. And we're going to challenge it. And I use a term consistently: if you think this is tough, wait till life. But we're going to make it tough on them. And ultimately, our goal is for them to leave here with the skill set and the toolbox to become great employees, potentially great employers, husbands who their wives can trust, and fathers who enable them to pay what they got from us forward. And I think that's the most important thing, to see the pride in a young man who I've coached when he shows me a picture of his son or his daughter, and to know that they're going to take care of those younger people well, because basically what we're here for is to pass it on. And that is one of the biggest rewards of working in a place like this. You know, the other thing about this place, and I feel privileged in this, is that I'm able to see the other student athletes compete. I give the tennis guys some grief about not being tough enough, as I will. I feel that I could teach the basketball players how to use their elbows a little bit better, but to see those student athletes that are bent on success, to see them come through this process, start out as freshmen, who think they know everything, and then prove to themselves that they don't, then leave here as young adults ready to take on the next steps of their lives. And that is what I feel is the most precious thing and most rewarding thing about working at a place like Bucknell. The coaching staff, my coaching staff, I'm possessive, but the entire coaching staff of the student athletes here, they're here with a vision that is set by the school, reinforced by our athletic director, and something that we feel very fortunate and privileged to be a part of.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.